Okay, we're on.
Test, we're here? All right. Well, hello, everybody, and welcome to our Paramount City Council meeting for July 20th. Can I start off with a roll call of council members, please?
Councilmember Aguaya.
Here.
Councilmember Guillen.
Here.
Councilmember Lemons. Vice Mayor Quer Stallings.
Here.
Mayor Olmos.
I am here. So we will be starting this evening with a couple of presentations, so if my colleagues will join me downstairs. We'll make it work. So tonight we have two special presentations with two great friends of Paramount. At this time, would our Assembly Speaker of the Assembly, Anthony Rendon, please join us? You can either stand on this side, whatever makes you comfortable. So we are honored to have the speaker here this evening. He is a very, very busy man, as you all can imagine, but we're very grateful that you were able to stop by tonight in the city of Paramount. He has been a great, great representative for the city in Sacramento, constantly in communication with us and always open about dialogue of how he can help our residents here in the Paramount. So tonight he is here to make a presentation for the Paramount community. So at this time, I will turn it over to Speaker Rendon.
Thank you, Mayor. Pleasure to be here. Pleasure to be back in the district. We've been working hard in Sacramento all year long, and this is our summer recess. So I'm home for about 4 weeks, and I wanted to come by and see my friends on the council and in the community. This year's budget was a special budget because of some things that happened at the federal government level, because of better than anticipated state revenues. We had a record budget of about $265 billion. We're up to $21,000 per pupil in our K-12 education, which is the most we've ever spent for children. About $12 billion to fight homelessness. Program after program, we're investing in the state, always with one-time funds, though. We know that the future may not be as bright as the present is, so we're making safe investments. Still have about a $25 billion budget reserve. We have a rainy day fund of $25 billion at the state government level. Our savings account, if you will, is larger than the budget of about 35 states throughout the country. So we're saving for the future as well. But we're investing in our communities, and part of investing in our communities is making sure that we take care of districts like the 63rd. For example, there are $10 million in park funds in this year's state budget, including $1.25 for the city of Paramount. Well, it's right there. I could have just looked. $1.25 million for the city of Paramount. In addition to great parks funding, we're dedicating about, I believe, $200 million for the Exide cleanup, which plagues a lot of our communities, a lot of different things happening in the district. But when I come back to the district and I see great council members such as here, we know that it's important to invest in these communities. We know that we want to make sure that the council is successful in terms of delivering for you, the residents. And that's why this means so much to me. So here's a symbolic check. It's a symbolic check. Don't try to cash it. It's a symbolic check for $1.25 million for community facilities, parks, and recreational facilities construction, acquisition improvements from the state of California to the city of Paramount.
Thank you, Speaker, for visiting our city, and we hope to see you soon. Alrighty. So tonight, we're saying farewell to a veteran city employee who retired last month from the Building and Safety Division of our Planning Department. Antulio Garcia started his career at City Hall as a contract building inspector in 1986 at the age of 22. He revealed himself as a stickler for the rules right off the bat. One of his first inspections, Antulio issued a stop work order for a basement conversion project at City Hall. Ironically, the city itself had not pulled the proper permit. In the earlier years of his career in Paramount, he was responsible for building inspections, issuing building permits, and conducting code enforcement inspections. As building and safety manager, he also oversaw the expansion of the division from 2 to 4 full-time staff. Known as the Grizz to those who worked closest with him, Antulio was often referred to as simply as Garcia or the Cubano by residents. Without a doubt, he has stepped inside more homes and businesses in Paramount than anyone else in the city's history. And in all the name of ensuring safety and quality building construction for our residents and business owners. His work also produced a special benefit. He met his wife, Claudia, while carrying out an inspection. They are proud parents of their 3 children. So I have to add a personal story to this. So me and Claudia went to school together. And then she told me that she had met this employee from the city of Paramount, and it happened to be Antulio. So I actually had the privilege of actually being at their wedding when they got married. So Antulio, I know you're watching this today, so we congratulate you, Antulio, on your retirement. We wish you all the well and best of luck for decades over the service to our community. Again, he is not able to be here tonight, but he will receive a certificate, which is right behind Vice Mayor Cora Stallings, a crystal plaque, which and a Paramount Street sign with his name on it. So again, Antulio, congratulations, and we wish you the best on your retirement. And that is all tonight for tonight's presentations. All right, we will go ahead and move on with the agenda. John, at this time, I know we need to add a subsequent need item to the agenda.
Yes, Madam Mayor. In fact, we do. As you mentioned, I'd like to add an item of subsequent need. This item involves a presentation on the public outreach efforts for the draft environmental impact report for Metro's West Santa Ana Branch Light Rail Line. The schedule for their public outreach efforts for this project was announced late last week, and a speaker from Metro wasn't secured until after the city council meeting agenda had been collated and posted. The importance of this document is once it's released, the public input phase will move rather quickly. So I feel it's very necessary for you and for the public today to hear about the upcoming dates and formats that Metro is planning for public input. Just as a reminder, as with all items of subsequent need, in order to add this item to today's agenda, we would need to vote to add the item, and the vote must be a 4/5 vote. So with that, I'm asking for it to be added.
All right, so fellow colleagues, if I can get a motion and a second, and we will go ahead and do a roll call for the subsequent need item, please.
So moved. Second.
So we have a motion by Clara Stallings and a second by Lemons. Can I get a roll call, please?
Where are we going to add it at, Mayor?
I think John said you were going to add it under
Yeah, I'd like to add it right before item 3, so it'd be our first item
Okay.
of business.
under new business. Thank you, Councilmember Lemons. So I need a roll call, please, Heidi. Thank you.
Councilmember Aguayo,
Yes.
Councilmember Guillen,
Yes.
Councilmember Lemons,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Cuellar Stallings,
Yes.
Mayor Olmos.
Yes. Okay, we're going to go ahead and move on to City Council public comment updates, please.
Yes, Madam Mayor, we have 2 updates from the July 6th council meeting. The first one was from 2 commenters commenting on the same thing. Mr. Abelardo Jacobo and Ms. Denise Jacobo. Their concern was for the commercial center remodel project that's occurring at Downey and Alberg. The concerns were for the approval process by our development review board. communication with staff, and specific aspects of the project. As an after-action follow-up, planning staff had been in contact with Mr. Jacobo on May 6th and May 11th, informing him that staff will be working with the commercial center property owner to move the trash enclosure. Staff then spoke with Mr. Jacobo on June 23rd to inform him that the commercial center property owner agreed to relocate the trash enclosure. Plans have been updated to reflect the change, and additionally, Assistant City Manager Andrew Villalpando contacted Mr. Jacobo on July 1st to discuss the DRB approval process. Mr. Villalpando also met with Mr. Jacobo on July 15th at the site to examine any other potential solutions to resolve his concerns. The next speaker from July 6th that we're following up on was Ms. Abigail Torres. Ms. Torres had three concerns. The first one was that she requested that her street be patrolled for parked cars that block driveways. As a result, Public Safety Director Adriana Lopez contacted Ms. Torres to address the issue of cars that are parked illegally on Elbrook Street. The next concern that Ms. Torres had was for the amount of traffic that the commercial center remodel project at Downey and Elbrook Street will create on Elbrook Street. As a result, the city's traffic engineer examined the project location. The traffic engineer concluded that there are no significant findings that indicate that Elbrook Street would experience increased traffic as a result of the project. Her third concern was for the lack of notification about the commercial center remodel project. As mentioned before, this project was approved by the Development Review Board in November of 2020. The approval process by the Development Review Board was implemented decades ago, largely as a mechanism to efficiently review and approve community developments that would transform blighted areas of our town. City staff did review the DRB process to ensure ample notification to neighboring residents when a substantial commercial remodel project occurs next to residential properties. And that concludes the City Council public comment updates for July 6th.
Okay. John, I have a quick question about the DRB approval process. Is that public? Is it able to be on the website or?
The agenda is posted along with the Planning Commission agendas. All of them are posted on the website.
Okay, thank you. All right, so we'll move on now to public comments. And I know we have email, phone, and in person, correct?
Right. So far, we have one oral public comment on by phone and 3 in person. So we'll handle the one by phone. Assistant City Manager Andrew Villalpando will call up the individual.
Hello.
Good evening. This is the City of Paramount calling for Alejandro Yanez.
This is him.
Hi, Mr. Yanez. We're calling regarding your request for public comment at the Paramount City Council meeting. You're being broadcast live to the City Council, and your 3 minutes will begin now.
All right. Well, it's nothing new. No, first of all, I'd like to acknowledge Mr. Rendon for getting us some money here, much needed money in the city of Paramount for Parks and Recreation. You know, so much of the Park and Recreation funds go towards, I don't know, a waste of money is what I call it. The futsal courts that were built in San Carlos, I watched the kids. They don't even play on those futsal courts. They play on the dirt lot next to it. Same thing with the other futsal courts that they built in order to tear down our handball courts. You know, unfortunately, another young man was killed today, this morning. The only time we come out on the news in Paramount is when something negative happens. Yet another young man killed, 19 years old. Handball isn't the solution to everything. It's not the solution that's going to resolve all the situations that we have with our youth, but it is an alternative. At least we would have one thing for these kids to get into that I've been fighting for the last 11 years to try to get recreational opportunities for these young kids. And you keep ignoring us. You keep discriminating us. There's not one thing that young men can get into in this whole city. And it hasn't been anything for 30 years. For 30 years, you've gotten rid of all of our recreation. I've lived here. I may not have graduated from USC or UCLA or have a high education. I can't write you a paragraph where you'll say, oh, this man is an intelligent young man. But I am frustrated by the amount that you guys keep ignoring us and discriminating against men. You need men involved in this community in order to just be a part of it. And it's so frustrating that you guys just keep ignoring us. You know, it's just a shame. You know, every time another young man gets killed, it just breaks my heart. You know, and I get frustrated because I know that we could do better. You got the wrong person in charge of Parks and Recreation. The person doesn't even live here. Half you people don't even live in the city of Paramount. You want to tell me what we need? You guys are crazy. You know, you guys are doing a terrible job.
Caller is hung up, Mayor.
Okay.
Our next speaker, Madam Mayor, is in person, and that would be Ms. Abigail Torres.
Good evening. Good evening. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Oh. Good evening, Honorable City Council. I am Abigail Torres, and I am a resident at 8417 Albert Street. And I want to voice my concerns on the patrolling, which was already talked about. And the mayor was saying that somebody had gone out there to see that it was traffic is not that bad. Yes, it is very bad. But I have pictures. I actually, Miss Adriana, I spoke to her and I took pictures, and I will get with her because thank you for reaching out to me. And like the gentleman that just called or was talking, yeah, maybe somewhere the money should be invested in safety, in public safety, because a lot of times we call it takes a long time for somebody to get there. Like I said last time, minimum 45 to 60 minutes, and that's if it's after hours, because I know the substation closed like at 10 or 9 o'clock, something like that. Yeah, early. So it's even worse because then it dispatches to the Lakewood, right? And so with now this new development that's going on there, I'm concerned about the kids because they're saying that the driveway or the parking structure or the exit, I believe they said it was, is going to be on Albert Street. But there's a lot of kids that go to school. And right now it's really bad. I can't imagine when open schools, That's my concern about the patrolling. But I guess I'll get with Ms. Vivian. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Torres.
Madam Mayor, if I may.
Sure.
Can I have Lieutenant Camacho meet with Ms. Torres? We have Lieutenant Camacho in the back. If you could either give Ms. Torres your business card or speak with her out in the lobby about her concern, and we can start working on it immediately. Thank you. Our next speaker, Madam Mayor, is Mr. Abelardo Jacobo. Mr. Jacobo?
Good evening, Honorable City Council. I'm requesting additional time, more than 3 minutes allowed, in order for me to read this letter during the public comment for tonight's meeting, and I thank you for granting. I am Abelardo Jacobo, the property owner that is most affected by the five-star market project. For the record, and please add this to your file on this project as well. Under the planning and zoning law, you are required to give me notice before you take any action as that affects my rights, such as giving them, this negligent store owner, for example, maybe a relief from setbacks, whichever it is, doesn't matter, any variances that he's asking for. The city attorney can't argue with the appeal period that is passed if he didn't give me any notice. It is a due process of violation for the city of Paramount to do that. I am now letting you know that if I need to bring a writ of mandate to stop this project, I will do that. And if I win, I will be entitled for all legal fees to be paid by you. But that is it is more of cost effective for everyone to stop for a brief period and figure this thing out before litigation starts. I thank you for giving me an additional time, an opportunity for this public comment.
Thank you, Mr. Jacobo. And I am going to look to Andrew. I know, Andrew, you had the opportunity. I know we did get a summary from the city manager regarding some of the action, but I know you did meet with Mr. Jacobo. Is there anything that you could update the city council on and on your meeting and what was discussed?
Yes, absolutely. Can you hear me?
Yes, I think a little bit.
Yeah, absolutely, Mayor. I did have the opportunity to meet with Mr. and Mrs. Jacobo last Thursday on the 15th, as Mr. Jacobo expressed. And certainly, staff, from the beginning, we've been very empathetic with Mr. Jacobo's situation. We've explained to Mr. Jacobo and his wife that this is one of those few and far between scenarios or situations where we have an oddly zoned or a zoned area in our city that happens to have a unique situation where we have residents abutted next to a commercial center. The Development Review Board, which is under the authority of the Planning Commission, did approve the project as we've updated the City Council in the past, and through that process, it does not require that we provide public notice as we would under a conditional use permit process. Nonetheless, we have met with Mr. Jacobo on several occasions, as the city manager updated you on. And this most recent occasion on the 15th, we did discuss several concerns. We did do a site walk, both myself, Planning Director John Carver, and the Jacobos. We did discuss several issues, and we did come to a resolution in terms of some of the concerns that Mr. Jacobo brought up. One of which being the trash enclosure that was originally a site plan that did get moved, and that has been approved in the new site plans. The driveway apron will be moved more eastwardly, closer to Downey Avenue, away from Mr. Jacobo's property. We are exploring the possibility of making that an exit-only angled apron so that it would limit any traffic that would go westbound toward the Jacobos, which we feel at this point, as a courtesy, is a significant improvement to the concerns or resolution to the concerns. Also, we've looked at the concern Mr. Jacobo expressed about making Downey Avenue both an ingress and egress for the property. And upon an examination of our traffic engineer or engineer, they did determine that would remove additional parking spaces beyond what would be feasible for the project to move forward. In terms of the other concerns that the Jacobos expressed with school traffic, all of those conditions currently exist when school's in session, and there wasn't necessarily any indication from the study or from the traffic engineer that it would get worse, more so just that the property itself would change the flow. I can't speak to the issue of whether it was absolutely legally required for the notice, but yeah, okay. So that's the update that we have, Mayor.
All right, thank you. I just wanted to ensure that the colleagues understood too the update on that, so thank you.
I also want to discuss one thing that you didn't bring up today as well. If this is on, I don't know. For not notifying me as well, we did discuss the property line where my property is past the wall, because I built this wall, because the next door neighbor didn't want to share the cost. So you're now invading into my property if this develops. I stressed that out.
So just if
This
I may,
is why it's so important to notify our residents, because you never know what happened. You just don't understand. You decide this, make an offer or whatever, nobody can refuse, but maybe he should make me an offer I can't refuse.
Well, Mr. Jacobo, the thing of it is, I think what we're doing is we're trying to look at this situation from both ends.
Yes.
You came in with a couple concerns. The trash has been changed, moved, the driveway. So I mean, we are trying to work with you as well.
I also asked Andrew, which I appreciate. I do appreciate it. I requested to have just a meeting with two of you. I don't know if that was stressed out. Obviously, the attorney doesn't want to do it. I just
Right, so-
asked for the mayor, and I asked for Lemons, if possible.
Okay.
I don't know what this transparency thing that you guys have. I mean, I don't know.
Well, we could, want to say something, Councilman Rose?
Yeah, I think
Thank you.
that we could confer with the city attorney and find out if there's
Sure.
some legal reason not to, and if there isn't, then, we'd be happy to meet, whatever meets the legal requirements.
Madam Mayor, if I can just bring up right now.
Sure.
I wouldn't recommend that the council have any meetings, not because it's not going to do anything, but the fact of the matter, this has already been decided. Now, if there is anything that we can do to try to mitigate the project, but it appears to me that there may be an opposition to the project as a whole, okay, which that's already been approved. Secondly, I would discourage any of you to meet with the applicant right now because he's just made a threat of litigation. So anything you say or do and talk with him may be used against the city. Now, if that wasn't said, I don't think I would have a problem. But right now, I am recommending that no communication be made at this point unless Mr. Jacobo has legal counsel, in which case he can contact my office and we can talk about the legal issues.
I would just prefer, Madam Mayor, if it's
Sure.
okay with you,
Mhm.
that we just discuss this after the meeting and go through the pros and cons. I appreciate you putting on the record your concerns, and let's have a discussion about it and see if it's possible.
I think that's a great
And we'll
idea.
go there, but we'll discuss it privately so that you can let us know the ins and outs of that, and then we can make an informed
Yes.
decision. Okay? Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Kavanaugh.
Our last speaker, Madam Mayor, is Mr. Alvin Parks. Mr. Parks? I'm sorry, while Mr. Parks coming up, Ms. Luce, do we have any emailed comments?
No, sir, no email comments.
Sorry, Mr. Parks.
That's okay. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, just wanted to say,
Hello.
I just really came to say thank you to everybody. I miss coming to these meetings, and I didn't know it was last week, so I would have come. I found out through the Journal, and everybody before me. I think you guys are all doing a great job. So I don't know everyone's name, but most of you know me, and I've seen me. But in particular, I want to say a few things. Mr. Johnson, you're the best. Every time I see this guy, he always recognizes me, and that's important to me. We saw him just the other day. I don't know everyone's. You speak very well. I don't know your name. I apologize. I met the assistant clerk, city manager at the campaign. You were kind to me. I've seen the lawyer gentleman before. This is my buddy here. This is kind of off. This is my buddy. So you know what I'm talking about. Yeah. We go anyway. A lot of concerts. Then to the other side, Miss Lopez. I know it's two Adrianas. That's why I got confused. It was so cool because I was at a function. Something happened at Paramount Park earlier this year, and she was busy and working with the police and so forth. And the first thing she did, looked over, she goes, "Hey, I know you," and that's kind of cool to be recognized, you know. And then, John, I told this to you before. You spoke at one of our public works meeting, and I don't know what it is. You know how some people you just like some people. This guy, I just like this guy. I didn't pinpoint it why, but I like this guy, and I told you this before. And the thing is, as soon as I grow up, I want to be just like you. Okay. Anyway, and oh my goodness, Miss Figueroa, she's worked, in the public works now, and she's been a blessing to me. And I thank you so much. And the lady, I don't know your name, but thank you also. I just don't know his name. I apologize. And to the council, I just wanted to say, Mr. Aguilar, you're the best for nominating me, and so forth. And she actually called my house to say, "Is there anything I can do for you?" Brought a poster, yard sign for the first responders to my home. I talked to Ms. Lemon several times. I told you before I first met you, reminded me so much of a dear late friend of mine. Remember I told you Roxanne Donaldson? And Ms. Almost, I saw you the other day, and you always speak to me too. I'm not going to skip it just for a second there, Ms. Stalling, just for a second. Oh. And Lori, you're great, thank you. And I apologize what happened the other day. Nothing bad, but we'll keep that. You're not talking about, that's nothing bad. So, and I met Ms. Stallings once at the parking thing, and you were kind to me too. The thing I want to say to you quickly is, if I didn't tell you, you wouldn't know, but during the campaign, 2 of your signs had fallen down, Paramount Boulevard in Somerset and the northeast corner in the back, and then on Rosecrans and Downey on the corner also that fallen down. I was doing my bike ride.
I so badly wanted to pick them up and put them up for you, but I knew I couldn't, because if someone saw me pick that sign up, they would interpret that I was taking it down. That's how it goes. So I wanted to do that for you, but I just wasn't able to. If I didn't tell you, you'd never know. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Parks. We appreciate you.
Can I just make a comment that
Sure.
I found really interesting, to what a small world we live in here in Paramount. Our dear friend, Dr. Hanson, as we know, former Mayor Hanson, is in the hospital, and I went to visit him, and the gentleman who is helping take care of him and who I spoke to is Alvin's son-in-law.
Oh.
So it was like, wow, what a small world, you know. So thank you, and pass on to your son-in-law how much we appreciate him taking good care of our friend and colleague. Thank you.
Thank you. So that will end our comments. We are
Yes, ma'am.
complete. All right, so we will go ahead and now move on to new business. And the first item will be the draft EIS/EIR for the Metro Outreach Summary.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you. As I mentioned, the long-awaited draft Environmental Impact Report, or draft EIR as it is commonly referred to, is scheduled to be released very, very soon. In fact, it may be released in about 10 days from now, on July 30th. The draft EIR is the most critical point in time for the public to comment on the design and the impact of this very, very large project. As I just mentioned, Metro is planning a pretty succinct public outreach effort that will start immediately after the release of the draft EIR. This Metro project is extremely important to our community because once it's built, this light rail line will cut right through the middle of our city and run very close to residential and commercial properties, as well as the Paramount High School. So with us today on Zoom, and I'm looking at the back, you guys got her going? Okay, great. From Metro is Miss Meghna Khanna, the project manager for the West Santa Ana Branch Light Rail Line project. Ms. Khanna did provide to the council some time ago an overview of the project. So she will now go over the components of the public outreach that her agency is planning to do. And we'll turn it over to Ms. Khanna once she joins us on Zoom.
Hello, can you hear me?
We can hear you, Meghna. Hi there.
Hello, thank you, John, and thank you to your council for giving us a chance to come out and talk about the big milestone that we are reaching on the West Santa Ana Branch project. With that, I would like to just share my screen so we can go over a presentation. Please let me know if you can see my screen.
Yes, we can see it, Meghna. We're just going to move you over a bit. There you go.
Can everyone see my screen?
Yes, we can.
We can see it.
Okay, thank you. So as John mentioned, we are anticipating to release the draft environmental impact statement, environmental impact report for the West Santa Ana Branch Transit project.
Hey, Meghna, can you hold on one sec if you can hear me, Meghna? Can you hold on?
Yes.
Okay. Oh, I think you're back now. We had a little audio problem.
Oh.
There
can
you go.
hear me now?
Yep, we can hear you now.
Okay, I'll start again. Thank you again for this opportunity. I would like to talk about the West Santa Ana Branch Transit project, which right now is reaching a big milestone. We are getting ready to release the draft environmental impact statement, environmental impact report, which meets the National and California Environmental Protection Act regulations by end of this month, which is July 30th. And we have broken down our outreach efforts into 3 phases, which is where before the release of the document, what we are planning to do, working with all the cities and stakeholders. And then there will be an extensive outreach effort during the public comment period, which will run through August to September. And also what we plan to do after the end of the comment period, sometime in November. So with that, I'll just walk you through these 3 phases, talking about the before the release. As of today, what are we doing? We actually conducted in April some stakeholder working groups meetings, working with residents, businesses, community-based organizations, faith leaders along the corridor, getting those information from the city staff to provide them an update on where we are in terms of this environmental document. And right now, currently, just last month, we coordinated with your city staff and city manager to offer these banners, these street banners, which will provide an update, which just basically says the draft document is coming out and it's available for community input and review and comment. And we have provided 3 banners to Paramount, which will be placed over the city streets to again spread the message, inform the public of the release of this document. We are putting ads on the buses, so all the bus lines serving your community will have flyers notifying the public of this document release. We are also planning to do some social media announcements, which we will be sharing with the cities so that city staff and city managers can send it out to their stakeholders as well. We are planning to do an e-blast. We have almost 4,500 emails that are in our database based on the meetings we have held previously, people who have contacted us. We will be doing these notifications in 4 languages: English, Spanish, Korean, and Japanese. We also plan to send SMS text messages to the people who have provided us with their cell phones. In addition to that, we will be doing door-to-door canvassing. So we will have this information material packet ready, which talks about when the document is coming out, how can people comment on the document, where can they reach Metro staff. So all that information is being put in a package and it will be sent to different properties. So after the release of the document on July 30th, we will be sending again notifications to all the different stakeholders, different people who are on our database. In addition to that, we will be sending a direct mail to all the adjacent property owners, businesses, residents, and non-occupied properties. So we are planning to reach approximately 60,000 stakeholders along the length of the entire corridor, which is 19 miles. We will be doing door-to-door drop-offs. Approximately 50,000 properties will be reached. We are planning to launch an interactive tool, which is a web-based tool where people can go in, they can zoom into the maps, they can see different features of the project, where the light rail is, where the stations are, especially for community like City of Paramount, like John mentioned, the alignment goes next to some of the close to single-family homes. They can actually zoom in and see where the sound walls would be located and where the light rail track is. So we are working on this interactive tool. We plan to put all this information together and provide it to city staff, city managers, so that that information is readily available with the city staff and they can share it with residents in case questions come to the city directly. We plan to do legal notices. These will be published in the newspapers. As soon as the document is released, we will be sending e-blasts, again, those text messages to cell phone information we already have. We are also planning to send these flyers informing about different ways to comment on the document, where you can find the document, to all the cities, all the CBOs, and all the key stakeholders. And I want to focus on this communication toolkit, which we plan to distribute to all the cities and agencies and stakeholder working group members and key stakeholders. So all these different pieces of information that I'm talking about today, like the interactive tool, list of properties we are reaching out, all that information will be combined in a toolkit and will be provided to the city staff. We will be doing social media posts and ads through different Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. We were originally planning to do some pop-up events at major transit station or reach out to you and join some of your public events. But with this COVID situation, again, with the cases rising up, we want to be more cautious. So we are not promising any in-person pop-up events at this time. But if the situation changes, we'll be more than happy to plan some in-person events. And also Metro has this, the source, which is a great way of getting information on Metro projects. We will be publishing information through that too. In addition to that, we will be sending a notice of availability for this draft document, which will be provided, the document itself will be provided on a flash drive to all the agencies, including the city. We plan to put the document, printed copy of the document, as well as an electronic copy at all these locations that are listed here. We reached out to all the cities along the corridor, these organizations and these libraries gave us confirmation. So Paramount Park Community Center will have the printed copy of the entire document as well as the electronic copy. In early August, we plan to conduct an elected officials briefing. So you all will be getting a notification for that elected official briefing, which will include elected officials from along the corridor. In mid-August, we also plan to do agency briefings where we will include all the agencies like cities. In mid to late August, we are planning to do public hearings, which are required by law, and I'll talk about that on the next slide. We also plan to reach out to the corridor cities to have meetings such as this, to talk to the council, to talk to key stakeholders, and rest of the interactive tool project website. All those ways of spreading the word will be included in the toolkit, but those are the tools we'll be using to get the comments from the stakeholders. So during August to September, it's really critical, like John said, for your community, for your staff to review the document, to submit their comments orally at these virtual public hearings, which I'll talk about in a second, but they can also submit these written comments to me directly. I have my information towards the end of this slide. And at these virtual public hearings, the format would be, I will provide a formal presentation, get into the details of the alternatives that are being evaluated in the draft, the comparison of those alternatives, and just provide an overview of how these alternatives compare. We will have court reporters at the public hearing. People will get an opportunity to submit their comments orally, or they can provide written comments to the court reporter. We will have interpreters in Spanish, Japanese, and Korean at these meetings. And by end of this week, we will have dates and times confirmed for these 3 public virtual hearings. And as soon as we confirm that information, we will share it with your city staff so that, again, they can help spread the word. After the comment period, we will take all those comments, we will compile those comments for the Metro Board's consideration. So by the time in November, we go to the Metro Board, Metro Board will select what we call the locally preferred alternative. So as you remember, last time when I came, the project is evaluating 4 alternatives. Metro Board, based on public comments, based on our funding, will select what we call the locally preferred alternative, which will then be taken into the final, and the final document will clear the locally preferred alternative. So this is another summary slide, just talking about different efforts, public outreach that we plan to do, and we continue to work with your city staff and city manager. I have to actually thank your city staff and city manager. They have been great champions of this project, trying to work with us, trying to make sure the community concerns are heard by Metro, and especially John Moreno. He's been chairing the West Santa Ana Branch City Manager Technical Advisory Committee. So he's a voice that we constantly hear, and we want to make sure that the community concerns are addressed. So last, I will just leave you with this slide, which basically has my information there. Like I said, we plan to launch that interactive story map or the tool, which we will provide the link to you very soon. People can send their comments directly to me. People will have an opportunity to submit their comments at the virtual public hearing. So there are different ways to get the comments to Metro, and we will continue working with your staff to make sure that we can spread the message as we release this document. Thank you.
I'm not sure if you can.
There you go.
There you go. Thank you so much, Meghna, for the presentation. Are there any comments or questions from colleagues on this presentation on how they're going to be doing their outreach? No. Very thorough presentation. Thank you for that, step by step.
Thank you.
So, no comments, so we will go ahead and go. Don, anything you wanted to add to that?
No, ma'am.
Okay. All right. That was an oral report. We're going to go ahead and move on to our next item, which is an approval of the Memorandum of Understanding with the Los Angeles County Probation Department for expansion of Youth Activities League.
Yes, thank you, Madam Mayor. Our first item under new business is a very exciting one. With your approval of this item, we're going to start a new program for our youth. The program is called the Youth Activities League, and in order for the program to get off the ground, we need your approval of a memorandum of understanding with the County Probation Department. This presentation you're about to hear will also include an overview of the program, and it's very similar to the information we presented during the budget adoption presentation last month. So with that, I'll turn it over to our Assistant Public Safety Director, Ms. Maggie Madsen, who will handle the item. Maggie?
Thank you very much, John. Good evening, Madam Mayor and City Council members. The Youth Activities League is part of the Los Angeles County Sheriff's Youth Foundation. The program was started in 1991. Under the mentorship of a deputy sheriff, the YAL program was designed as a positive alternative to gang membership and provides youth a safe and healthy environment during after-school hours. The program is offered at no cost to the youth participants, and the program emphasizes education, promotes resiliency, and connects youth and their families with available resources. The YAL program is led and managed by a dedicated deputy sheriff. The concept and goal of the program is to provide participants guidance, life skills, sports activities, academic enrichment activities, and youth leadership development skills. The program unites the community through the involvement of law enforcement, parents, education, local government, and community service groups. As you recall, during the budget process, the Los Angeles County Sheriff's Youth Foundation had recently decided to relocate the Youth Activities League program from the city of Hawaiian Gardens to the city of Paramount. The Special Assignment Officer is part of the Los Angeles County Sheriff's Youth Activities League, which the Los Angeles County supplements 3/4 of the total annual cost, including liability. As part of the fiscal year budget, the city will supplement 1/4 of the yearly cost with liability, which is approximately $87,500, which has been allocated. And we included $5,000 as part of program expenditures. In order to further expand the program, the city has received $70,000 from the Los Angeles County Board of Supervisors. This funding is part of the Los Angeles County Probation Department for the Juvenile Justice Crime Prevention Act. The grant funding will provide support for civilian staff and also allow the city to include additional program opportunities. As noted on the slide, the grant will assist in providing an academic tutor, a program lead, sports coach. There will also be funding allocations for operating costs that will include college tours, recreational activities, and various excursions. The Paramount YAL program will be housed at Spanny Park. The proposed program hours are Monday through Friday between 3 p.m. and 7 p.m. At this time, the targeted age group is 10 to 17 years of age. The program activities will include civic participation, excursions, recreational and sports activities, as well as tutoring and computer lab access. So this is a picture of the room that we will be utilizing for the YAL program. Those of you that are familiar with the facility, this is actually the former preschool. We are working with community services and public works to give it a good facelift. We definitely want to entice our youth to use it almost like a teen center. So if you can visualize, obviously getting that yellow with a more neutral color. We will also mount a plasma TV and add video game consoles. I know PS5 is the greatest thing, so we're trying to really create a room where teens are going to be able to go there after school, regroup, and for those that need assistance with their homework, We are currently working with community services to utilize their community learning center. So the beauty of Spanny Park is that the facility has the best of both worlds. We have a recreational room and we have a learning center. So the computer lab will come in handy for the tutor. She will be able to get those who are interested in receiving tutoring services or need assistance with their academic, let's just say college applications or things of that nature. We will be able to provide them that support, and that can be done here so they're less distracted with the entertainment happening on the other side. At this time, I'm going to go ahead and allow Deputy Ferreira to highlight some of the activities that he had the opportunity to experience with the program participants from Hawaiian Gardens. Deputy Ferreira.
Thank you. Good evening, Madam Mayor, City Council. So the next few slides, they're just various pictures of different excursions we went on with the kids. This first one here is at Fresno State. This is where we held our Life After High School event that we do yearly. Unfortunately, the one for this year was canceled due to the COVID and also the Fresno State University saying that they weren't going to be able to accommodate, the 4-day program that they had for them. But like I mentioned in the past, the Life After High School kids from the local community are taken down there. They bring in guest speakers and talk to the kids about how to prepare for life after high school, going to college, if that's what they're going to do. If some kids, I'm gonna graduate high school and I'm gonna move out on my own, and they kind of open their eyes and to what the real world is. So, okay. This was at the same. The one on the left is at Fresno State. We were doing a scavenger hunt, so there's a lot of interaction, with the group. I must say, and the one on the right is one of our beach trips. We did a beach cleanup, went to Bolsa Chica after, and then we have a bonfire. We try to do like 2 or 3 of those throughout the year. We like to, the program. I know she was saying about the PS5, bringing it, making it, more welcoming for the kids, wanting them to get there. But a lot of the kids, in my experience in the last 8 years doing this program, really just want to have a safe place to be at, because they may feel unsafe or unwanted in some places, not knowing where to go. So they kind of like find an identity for them, like even as small as us providing snacks for them. Some kids don't eat all day, even at school. So the snacks that we provide at the center were huge for them, and it's so important for their growth, and their health. So this was at our YAL inside of the Parks and Recs building. We were just having a gathering there. I believe this was for a Thanksgiving dinner. So for Christmas or for Thanksgiving, I like to invite the kids over, and we like to cater, the event for them, because some of them may not have a Thanksgiving dinner. We don't pry into the kids' lives, but the kids are, they're kids, and they should enjoy things like this. So we try to provide different events or just different occasions for the kids that they may not get at home for obvious or just different reasons. This was a national night out out in the city of Hawaiian Gardens as well, which all these events, all 5 cities of Lakewood Station take part in, and we're looking forward to getting the kids involved in the community as well. I know that I think the city of Paramount maybe does it the day before, but in any case, any event, any community event that we have, like the Harvest Festival that's coming up in August, or the Heritage, Heritage, National Night Out, the Red Ribbon Week, try to get the kids involved just so that they're aware, about drugs and gangs, and, bring people in, talk to them. We have our SAO team that I used over there that I plan on using here to have them come in and speak with the kids about the dangers of drugs and gangs, you know, and then the kids just in itself, they enjoy having other deputies around and talking to them, you know, they think we're dressed cool and they like our cars and things like that, but at the end of the day, it's a positive for these kids in any way that you look at it. This was a soccer tournament that we put together. So looking forward to trying to get with Community Services and Parks and Recs as, you know, some of these sports leagues start, you know, gearing up and coming around. Like to get the kids involved in sports activities, soccer, basketball, mixed martial arts, whatever we can do to expand, you know, the vision of these kids, to show them that there's more out there, you know, than these streets here in Paramount. Took them out for the excursions, Universal Studios on the right there, the museums. We went on a couple of museum trips where we took them to the Broad Museum and to the Museum of Illusions. The kids, that's the Museum of Illusions there. Kids enjoy it. You know, they take their phones out there, they take selfies. I mean, it's just something that maybe if the program wasn't there, they'd probably never go to. So definitely a eye-opener for a lot of the kids. Even just going to the beach trips from a couple of slides back, some of the kids just standing at the foot of the water, staring out into the ocean, into the horizon, and having a talk with them, hey, what's going on? You know, because you can see them deep in thought, like, never been to the beach. I've never seen the water. So to me, those are the important things, you know, and having those conversations with those kids where they're more intimate conversations like, hey, man, like, how are things at home? Like, are you good? Is there any way we can help? You know, all these other things about sports, yeah, we can talk about them, but they want somebody to lend an ear to them, and that's the important part of what this program does, bridging that gap between the community, the residents, and law enforcement, so they can better understand us, and at the same time we can understand them. There's I believe that, I know we're at Staples Center, but this one was a Clipper game we went to. And then this was at the Broad as well. One of our beach trips. The bald guy in the middle, that's me. Went to the Dodger game. The one on the right, that Hiccups Pizza Project, that guy there, he's a huge Dodger fan. Well, that's at Skid Row. And took the kids down there to pass out pizzas, waters, and then clothing. They actually put that on every last Sunday of the month. So, like I said, I like to take kids, you know, not only to fun places like Dodger games and things like that, but also to give back. You know, I didn't put a picture in there, but I've also taken them down to the Midnight Mission, you know, to hand out food to the homeless, and they love that. You know, you'd be surprised. You would think that kids are like, I don't want to do that. Man, they're so excited to do that and give back just to see the smile on their faces. I mean, it's awesome. And for you Angel fans, I heard there's some Angel fans in here. You know, we don't hate on the other side, but took them to an Angel game in the week, and that is it. There you go.
Thank you very much, Deputy Ferreira. The City of Paramount definitely looks forward to having you and having the YAL program be part of our city. So at this time, it is recommended that the City Council approve and authorize the City Manager to execute the MOU with the Los Angeles County Probation Department for the expansion of the Youth Activities League. This concludes our presentation. We will be more than happy to answer any questions you may have regarding the MOU or the program.
Okay. Do I have any questions? Thank you, Maggie. Do we have any questions from colleagues?
I have one question. Make a motion that we approve the MO. I'm sorry, was
Yeah,
there a
Vice
question?
Mayor. Yeah, Vice Mayor has a
Go ahead.
question.
It says on page 2 of 6, the city shall fund 2 civilian positions to implement the after-school program.
Yes,
So what would be their responsibilities? That's what I wanted to know.
That's a very great question, Vice Mayor. So essentially, with this MOU, that will permit us to offer through an agreement the opportunity for us to bring a program lead who would be coming in. It would be 19 hours a week, and she would essentially be overseeing the program that is essentially led by Deputy Ferreira. And then we would also bring in an academic tutor. And again, it would be approximately 19 hours per week. And it would be a separate agreement. What the city is planning on doing is I have the 2 agreements ready to be vetted by our city attorney. We're basically bringing them in almost like a contract, contractors, excuse me, and we would pay them and then seek reimbursement. That's what the $50,000 that was allocated would allow us to do that.
Thank you.
Yeah, Meg, I do have one question for you. I'm looking at the term of the MOU. So it's for one period for 1 year, starting July. So today's July 20th. So how long does the process take for us to actually get the program going?
Yes.
To be in motion?
Yes, Mayor, that's another great question. At this time, we are looking at starting the program come August. We are planning, so the probation department has been in contact with Deputy Ferreira and I, and they are basically just waiting for this meeting to take place. After the meeting, the city manager, if approved tonight, would then sign the MOU, and I will be sending that over to the county. They'll go ahead and complete it, fully execute it, and then at that point, we would reach out to the contract employees, which would be the program lead and the tutor, and we would have them sign separate contracts, basically listing the terms and conditions of their agreement, and we would definitely be ready to kick off the program by the time school starts, which would be mid-August. But we want to get started to get the kids acclimated, to get our youth acclimated. Starting in August, we want them to be part of the decorating and, saying, hey, this would be cool on this side, bringing in books and doing stuff like that, even though school is not yet in session. So that would start, we're looking at having youth participants that are currently part of the YAL program, because we do have some Paramount residents that are that have been with the YAL program even when it was housed in Hawaiian Gardens. They are ready to partake in our city, so we're ready to go with that.
We're looking around August. Okay. That was my last question. Is any more questions from colleagues? No. Well, entertain a
Pull up the
motion.
MOU.
Sorry? Did you make a motion, council member? So I have a motion by Lemons. Can I get a second, please?
A second.
So first by Lemons, second by Aguayo. Can I get a roll call, please?
Councilmember Aguayo.
Yes.
Councilmember Guillen.
Yes.
Councilmember Lemons.
Yes.
Vice Mayor Quer Stallings. Mayor Olmos.
Yes. Thank you. So next, move on to item 4, which is another approval for the agreement with Enterprise Fleet Management Incorporated for Vehicle Replacement Program.
Yes, Madam Mayor and Council, this next item involves something that we also touched on during last month's budget adoption presentation. We found an efficient method for managing the city's aging fleet of vehicles. Through a vehicle replacement program with Enterprise Fleet, we're able to enter into what can be considered a master lease, if you will, for all of our fleet. There are many benefits to this type of arrangement that we're about to show you. And a couple of area cities have already entered into a similar arrangement to take advantage of these different benefits. And those 2 cities include Downey and Norwalk. So with that, I'll turn it over to our Public Works Director, Ms. Adriana Figueroa, who will handle the item. Adriana?
Thank you, John. Madam Mayor, members of the City Council, as John indicated, in an effort to upgrade our aging vehicle infrastructure, the city has been utilizing outside financing to accommodate 5-year leases under what is called a lease-to-own program. This allowed us to essentially amortize the price of the vehicle and any other equipment that was required, such as aero boards or toolboxes, as is the case for Public Works. Over the past few years, though, we have been looking at various options to improve this practice by replacing as many vehicles as possible. So, Currently, the city's fleet consists of 88 vehicles. 27 of those vehicles are over 20 years old, with around 150,000 miles. We have not been the only ones looking for viable options to improve our vehicle replacement program, as John had indicated. Some cities have done the same and have opted for vehicle lease programs that have resulted in substantial savings over time while adding new vehicles to their fleet and therefore reducing their maintenance costs. The program being used by some of our surrounding cities is that of Enterprise through their fleet management division. Some of the cities that have already contracted with Enterprise that are located here in Southern California are Gardena, Inglewood, Pasadena, Corona, Westminster, Norwalk, and Downey. Additionally, Enterprise also provides this program to Cal State University Long Beach and also the LA County Development Authority. The Enterprise Vehicle Replacement Program will allow us to establish a list of vehicles that will be replaced. Not all 88 vehicles will be part of this program, since some of these include larger vehicle engines such as the Christmas train, or street sweeper unit, our bucket trucks, etc. Enterprise is unable to provide a feasible vehicle replacement program for those types of vehicles. Given that, we anticipate that approximately 70 vehicles will be part of the Enterprise Vehicle Replacement Program. We estimate that all vehicles will then be replaced within the next 5 years or so, and that these vehicles will go into a 4 to 5 year cycle for replacement. We will identify all the vehicle types and specs for each vehicle replacement and provide that to Enterprise. This program will allow us to lower the average age of our fleet. It should be noted that 57 of our vehicles are over 10 years old, 19 of them predate airbag standards, and 37 of them predate anti-lock brake standards. This program will not only help us reduce our liability, but it will allow us to reduce operating costs, given the fact that these will be newer vehicles. So we will see lower maintenance cost over time and definitely increase fuel efficiency. The vehicle replacement program allows for what is called an open-ended lease structure. And that not only allows us to replace more vehicles with less capital, but it also allows us to put pause on any future year's vehicle replacement should funds be limited to accommodate any additional leases. Again, this is a lease program, but what differentiates this from a typical personal car lease is that there are no mileage restrictions. Also, vehicles can be equipped with aftermarket parts such as utility toolboxes, aero bores, etc. Also, this program allows for Enterprise to resell the older replaced vehicles, and the money from those sales will be placed back into our vehicle replacement program. It should be noted that a younger fleet of vehicles, as well as zero or low emission vehicles, would work towards the implementation of our recently approved climate action plan goals, and that would allow us to lower our greenhouse gases citywide. This is seen as strategy TR1A in our climate action plan, which supports the use of alternative fuel vehicles within our fleet. The cost of the first year is estimated to be approximately $130,251. This would allow us to replace 11 vehicles this first year, and the money anticipated for the older replacement vehicles, or the sale of the older replacement vehicles, is estimated at $22,700. That money will be put back into the vehicle replacement program. The fiscal year 22 budget allocated $158,000 through various departments for 7 vehicle purchases. We have incorporated all of those vehicles into the Enterprise program and will make the appropriate adjustments, likely downward, during the mid-year budget process to reflect those actual expenditures. The city's purchasing policies allows the city to procure equipment and services through what is called a cooperative government purchasing program. Sourcewell is a public agency that offers competitive solicited purchasing contracts for equipment and services to member agencies, so those members do not have to duplicate the solicitation process. The city has utilized this Sourcewell cooperative in other procurements and will utilize it for this vehicle replacement program. Enterprise is an active participant in the Sourcewell Cooperative. So with that, it is recommended that the City Council approve the agreement between the City of Paramount and Enterprise Fleet Management and authorize the city manager or his designee to execute said agreement and any necessary amendments. That concludes my presentation. We do have Alex Lopez here, representative from Enterprise here, in case there are any questions that I'm not able to answer.
Thank you, Adriana. Colleagues, do we have any questions for Adriana at this time?
I just want to make a comment. I seen one of our vehicles down Downey Avenue 2 days ago, and I seen that it was really old, and I thought, I wonder where that truck's from. And then I drove by it, and I said, oh my God, it's the City of Paramount. So I said, we need to replace it. So anyway, thank you.
I think Vilma's going to vote a yes. So with that, are there any comments?
I have a couple questions,
Absolutely.
Madam Mayor. In the report, it said that some of the vehicles would allow us to incorporate zero emissions or low emissions, but what's the availability of that through Enterprise, and what kind of percentage are we going to get of those types of vehicles?
Thank you for that question, Councilmember Lemons. Obviously, in terms of our public works fleet, we are unable to incorporate trucks because, it's really, the technology just doesn't exist just yet. There may be an opportunity in the coming years because we've been working with Enterprise on, Ford is coming up with a truck that would incorporate a hybrid model or even an electric model, but it's not currently available. However, part of our fleet also includes smaller vehicles for staff that may need to go to meetings from, time to time, what we call our pool vehicles. And so in the past, we have used hybrid vehicles for that. We are actually including in this program the lease of, I'm going to say this wrong, the lease of 5 Leafs, 5 Nissan Leafs, which are 100% electric vehicles, zero emission vehicles that would allow for that type of activity for staff members to go to meetings, to go pick up items from one place to the other, that type of usage. And part of that, I don't know if you remember, but in our capital improvement program, we did include some funding for EV charging stations, and so that we can make those available for our fleet. So we do have that ability.
So may I ask a follow-up question? So 5 all-electric vehicles, and I'm sorry, I didn't hear quite everything, all of these masts and barriers. You said that they're not going to be, Enterprise will be supplying the trucks, but they can't supply them with the low emissions because they don't exist?
Yes, the electric versions of the trucks have not yet come out. There's publicity out there, but the vehicles themselves are not ready yet. We're looking at potentially next year.
And that's what I was going to ask. When you say they're not available, are they not available through Enterprise, or they're just not available?
They're not available.
Okay, thank you.
Good question. That's a good question. All right, no more other questions for Adriana? I will go ahead and entertain a motion.
I'll move the item.
I'll second.
Oh, moved by Lemon, second by Aguayo. Can I get a roll call, please?
Councilmember Aguayo?
Yes.
Councilmember Guillen?
Yes.
Councilmember Lemons?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Quera-Stalling?
Yes.
Mayor Olmos?
Yes. All right, moving on to item 5, which is an oral report for our 2021 4th of July after action report.
Yes, Madam Mayor and Council. This next item is an informational oral report about our annual efforts to impact the use of legal fireworks during the 4th of July. As we present to you every year, in addition to the sheriff's enforcement efforts, we will also highlight for you the public education efforts we launched to help curtail the amount of illegal fireworks that go off in our community every year. This year, we introduced something new to our arsenal of public education elements that our public safety director, Ms. Adriana Lopez, will now cover. Adriana?
Yes, thank you, John. Good evening, Madam Mayor and council members. As John mentioned, last city council meeting, Lieutenant Camacho presented a very detailed enforcement after action for our 4th of July campaign. What I'll go over today is just our educational campaign and what we did this year to improve on last year's efforts. Before I get started, I do want to go over briefly the history of our code. As you may remember, in 2002, the City Council established regulations not to allow any additional safe and sane fireworks stands. And in 2010, the City Council updated the fireworks code to establish a fine schedule for fireworks. And then in 2020, the city adopted voted to increase the fines for the possession, using, and selling of illegal fireworks. Currently, our code does allow for the sale of fireworks, safe and sane fireworks, and they are only allowed to be used on July 3rd and 4th. However, they can start selling them June 28th. So just to give you a very, very basic definition of safe and sane fireworks, it does not contain any dangerous elements, and they are classified by the state fire marshal. As I mentioned earlier, in 2002, the City Council established regulations not to allow additional safe and sane fireworks stands. At that time, we had 16 authorized safe and sane fireworks vendors in different parts of the city. And currently, we have 8 authorized safe and sane fireworks stands. As John mentioned, every year we do an educational campaign. And some of the things that are mentioned in this slide we do every year, starting from fireworks flyers. We have those at our city facilities. So if people are there getting information about other programs, they can pick up a flyer and know what our ordinance entails. We have large billboards, and those are the 5x8s that you see that are rotated throughout the city. Typically, we include those or place those in our city parks. We also have the street banner, which basically lets people know that we do have a hefty fine should you use illegal fireworks. We also distributed information about our code through our neighborhood watch meetings. And this year we held a fireworks seminar, which it's mandatory for all our vendors to attend. And in this seminar, we go over some of the things that are required for them to distribute every time they make a sale. They have to give the person information about our ordinance. In addition, in 2021, what we did is we held a fireworks summit, and that was a virtual summit. We didn't have very good attendance, or participation, I should say, but it was available through our YouTube channel so people could go back and look at it. We had experts that participated in that summit. We used electronic boards. Those were placed throughout the city. And the second item there is a digital mobile billboard, which we're really excited about, and I'll show you a video. We also started working with, about 4 years ago, we started working with PUSD, and they would allow us to use their marquee to let people know about our ordinance as well. We continue to use all social media platforms to educate our residents and any followers of our ordinance. And this year, what we introduced as well was an app where the residents could actually go on there through our Public Works app and submit a complaint in regards to illegal use or use of illegal fireworks. So if we could start the video, please. So the billboard was driven throughout the city, different areas. We had designated areas that were considered hot spots, and it was followed by a deputy, and they would wait 15, 20 minutes so that people could really get a look at this. Interesting story is that after when I was talking to a deputy, he mentioned that when he was issuing an administrative citation, the person actually said, "Oh, I know, it's $2,000. I saw it on the billboard." So it worked. The person still took the risk and got a citation, but they knew the fine amount. So we're happy to report that that was very useful. So every year, what we do is we start our enforcement, our dedicated enforcement, on July 3rd through the 4th. But this year, what we started to do is we actually wanted to start the enforcement earlier. So beginning June 3rd through July 5th, we worked with the special assignment officers and the team, and they put together a strategic plan. I'm sorry, I can't say that word. And also they had different strategies for enforcement. Additionally, they had a list of patrol checks in different neighborhoods, and we identified hotspots based on calls for service that were generated years before. So we do have hotspots that we focus our energy on. Our code also strictly prohibits the possession, use, and sale of illegal fireworks. And the definition for an illegal fireworks is that it does contain a dangerous element, and they're typically designed to explode and or propel into the air. So I always tell people, if it goes up into the air, it's most likely an illegal fireworks. As mentioned, City Council increased the fines for using illegal fireworks. Currently, they're at $5,000 for selling and $2,000 for possessing or using illegal fireworks. In addition, we continue to have a fine for those people who use safe and sane outside of the days that they're allowed, which once again, it's only July 3rd and 4th. We did not issue any citations in the amount of $250 this year. So moving on to the actual fireworks citation analysis, as mentioned before, we started on June 3rd and through July 5th. However, we could continue still to issue citations if people are still using them. So the deputies issued a total of 32 fireworks citations for using, possessing, or selling illegal fireworks. 22 of those were for selling, and 10 of those were for using and possessing illegal fireworks. The interesting part is that only 19% were issued to Paramount residents, and 81% were issued to non-Paramount residents. So I think we're doing a great job at letting our residents know what our ordinance is. I think next year we're going to focus on how we can get the information outside of our city to surrounding areas. The majority of the people that were cited that live outside of our city were from Los Angeles and Southgate. Okay, so breaking it down a little bit further, what we wanted to do is just look at the calls that were coming in based on a weekly basis. So as you could see, when we started the enforcement, June 4th through the 6th, we only had 4 calls. And as it got closer to the actual holiday, our calls increased. And that's not something that we were surprised by. Okay, so how did we compare this year? Once again, we're looking at calls for service beginning June. So in 2020, we had 617 calls, and in 2021, we had 169 calls, which is a decrease of 73%. Now, we also wanted to take a look at how many calls we received on the actual holiday, July 4th. As you could see, it wasn't significant. It wasn't a significant drop. However, I think the days leading up to the holiday were much quieter. And that's some of the information that I received or feedback from some of the residents and employees that lived in Paramount, or they live in Paramount. Okay, this year we also, in the billboard, really try to push the fact that the city offers a reward. And we do have a program that's been in existence for a while, but about 2 years ago, we increased the reward amount, $500 to $1,000 for anybody who reports the use or sale of illegal fireworks. Unfortunately, we did not issue any rewards this year. Last year, we issued 3. And I'm happy to report that we did introduce the Paramount Works app this year, and we had 72 online patrol checks that were requested through that app. And if the person left their information, we would contact them and try to get more information, and hopefully would be able to identify if somebody was selling or using illegal fireworks. And that concludes my presentation. I'll be happy to answer any questions.
Do you have any questions for Adriana? Thank you, Adriana.
I have one.
Absolutely, go ahead.
The ones that were issued for people selling fireworks, and you said that the vast majority were not Paramount residents.
Correct.
How did they do this, like set up to sell? Are they still selling from someone's house? Are they on a corner? Do they go door to door? How does that work?
Lieutenant Camacho, would you like to answer that question?
So the operations that we were conducting, a lot of these individuals were actually setting up shop in our city, and they were outsiders. So they were from surrounding cities, but they weren't actually Paramount residents. We were getting some of this information from other individuals, also through these operations, some undercover vehicles, and seeing these individuals trying to sell out of their trunks of their vehicles within our city.
That was my question, is like when you said setting up shop, so the majority were just out of the trunks of their cars.
Absolutely.
Ah.
Absolutely. And yeah, but they were definitely within our jurisdiction and selling to our residents.
And did you get reports on them, you said, from residents saying, hey, they're selling, or you saw them on your patrol checks, the majority?
It was more on the operations from the SAO teams. We would set up at specific areas where we knew from prior years, and based on their information from reliable informants in the streets, and not necessarily residents. We would follow tips from residents. Unfortunately, they were rather vague, but we would actually work on those tips, and that's it would take extended periods of time to wait, but these individuals would come back and try to sell.
And was it your experience, it was mine at my house, that there were less fireworks? Of course, I don't know if we can compare anything to last year. Last year was just insanity. But even for prior years, they didn't seem to, I had them, the big booms and the disturbing stuff, but they seemed far and few between. And I was super surprised how early it ended in my neighborhood, which was like around midnight. Usually goes till 2 or 3 in the morning. Was that the general experience from your guys' perspective? Or?
Yes, ma'am. We definitely had a lot of fireworks on 4th of July, but the days prior to, I would say that there was definitely less than other years.
Thank you.
Thank you, Adriana. And I think I just have an overall comment. I think that's why it's so important that we tell the residents, please call in and report it. That way we can actually capture this data, and I'm sure, make a plan for the next year. So again, thank you, Adriana, thank you, Lieutenant, and residents, again, we need you. We need your help to assist us identify even the new hotspots. The data identifies new hotspots for us, for our deputies to be on patrol. So thank you again for the presentation. If we have no other questions, we will move on to our next oral report of Code Enforcement Division overview.
Yes, Madam Mayor, thank you. The next item falls under the category of educational presentations. We're trying to bring to you a series of these educational presentations, and in fact, it covers stuff like what we do for the city. This time, our focus will be on the Code Enforcement Division. Due to the nature of the subject matter, some really view code enforcement in a negative light, but others see code enforcement as helping to preserve our community, maintain property values, and eliminate blight. And as the old saying goes, blight breeds crime. So with an adequate code enforcement program in your community, you're effectively helping to also keep crime levels down. So once again, with us is our Assistant Public Safety Director, Ms. Maggie Matson, to provide for you an overview of the Code Enforcement Division. Maggie?
Thank you very much, John. Good evening, Madam Mayor and council members. As John stated, today's presentation will provide an overview of the functions of the Code Enforcement Division. So the mission of the Code Enforcement Division is to achieve code compliance so that the community members of Paramount may enjoy a city that is safe, healthy, and attractive. Our goals are to obtain voluntary compliance whenever possible and administering a fair and an unbiased enforcement program. The Code Enforcement Division is comprised of trained officers and administrative support. The division includes 1 senior officer, 4 full-time officers, 1 part-time code enforcement officer, and a full-time office assistant and a part-time clerical staff. The officers have designated certificates from the California Association of Code Enforcement Officers, also known as CASIO. In order to be a state-certified code enforcement officer, 3 40-hour course modules must be completed, along with successfully passing a written exam for each module. In order to maintain the certification, the officers must complete 48 units of code enforcement training during the course of 3 years. I am pleased to share that the officers are all currently certified and in good standing with CASIO. As mentioned, code enforcement is responsible to enforce the Paramount municipal codes to abate property maintenance issues, health and safety hazards, and land use and zoning violation. The division works very close with other departments, our city prosecutor, and the deputy district attorney. Code enforcement tends to be a surprise to people living and working in Paramount because they do not realize that some of their activities may violate code provisions. For example, a resident may be unaware that placing a canopy in the front driveway is simply not allowed, or a business owner may not realize that the code prohibits unpermitted signs. People generally understand the need for safety, health, and welfare regulations, but it's more difficult to understand, however, that code regulations work to enhance private property investments, reduce visual clutter, and create successful and beautiful neighborhoods and business properties. With this in mind, we hope to provide public education and assistance to define how people can address these concerns about conditions in their neighborhoods. 56% of the code enforcement workload is generated by the public. 44% is generated by officers, city staff, and outside agencies such as the Los Angeles County Sheriff's Department, SIACA, and at times social service agencies. Code violations are typically called into public safety. We also have community members that feel more comfortable walking into the substation to report concerns or issues that they feel need to be addressed by code enforcement. Also, with technology becoming more accessible to our residents, we do receive numerous requests that come in through our Paramount Works application, our city website, and emails. Upon receiving a complaint or discovering a violation, the code enforcement officer reviews the violation, conducts the necessary field inspections, and contacts the responsible party for corrective action. If the violation is considered to be an imminent danger to the public health, safety, or the environment, the officer may commence proceedings to immediately abate the violation with the assistance of the city prosecutor. If immediate action is not required, the officer will issue a notice of violation to the responsible party. The responsible party will then be given a specific and reasonable amount of time to correct the violation. Typical property maintenance violations are given about 2 weeks, so it's 14 days that would normally be outlined in the correspondence. So upon reinspection, if the violation has not been corrected, the officer has the discretion to warn the responsible party, come up with a time frame for them to take corrective action, or issue an administrative citation. The officer should make every attempt to make contact with the responsible party when initiating enforcement activities. Most cases result in voluntary compliance, which is the goal of the city. However, about 15% of the cases will result in the city prosecutor taking enforcement action through an abatement warrant, a property lien, and in more extreme situations, proceeding with the criminal or civil action. It is imperative to note that every case is unique and may require a different compliance timeframe. As you know, we are always looking for ways to be innovative. As such, in 2018, the Code Enforcement Division began using GoGov software that is specifically designed for case management. We have seen the efficiency of the software, and starting this month, the officers will start utilizing iPad tablets while they're working out in the field. These practical measures allow the officer to have direct access to the GoGov application, the code enforcement files, and remote access to our municipal code. It is the city's policy to encourage voluntary municipal code compliance by providing residents, business operators, property owners, and tenants the opportunity with sufficient notice and information to comply with the code and other applicable laws and requirements. Here will be some examples of before and after results for actual code enforcement cases. As I scroll through the pictures, you may see at times when the officer engages the resident or the business owner, a lot of the times the response is, "Don't you guys have anything better to do?" And truly, this is what we do. So our job is to educate the public, let them know about the violations, and truly get them to understand why code is so vital. We really want to enhance and beautify our city. So as you get to see some of the samples, you'll be able to see that, yes, when the resident is coming home and they're saying, "This is the reason why I can't, put lawn or do this to my property," I think after we try to educate them and let them know that we'll work with them. And the process is obviously gaining their compliance in lieu of receiving fees or fines through administrative citations. And I think when we work with them and we're able to establish the importance of them adhering to the code, we do have these beautiful results that truly not only enhance their property, but the community as a whole. Again, simple practices. We recently introduced a program where we have a code enforcement officer. It's called the Good Housekeeping Ordinance. And we work together with the planning department. I have a part-time code enforcement officer who goes out every Monday morning and goes through every single shopping center and will let them know if they're not complying with the law, if there's litter, if there are just areas of concern that obviously on a Monday morning as everyone's kind of returning back to normal, we come to work. He makes sure to let them know the importance of just closing a simple trash enclosure, of having a porter take care of removing all the litter that may have been left behind after the Sunday patrons visited their shopping centers. We also, it's not just residents that we engage, we also do a lot of commercial abatements. And as you can see, it truly makes a significant difference. This here is a very particular case. We would not have been able to handle this case without the assistance of the city prosecutor. truly, you could tell that not only was it impairing the residents that were occupying this household, but it was causing a blight and definitely a nuisance for those who were surrounded by this house. The aftermath for a city prosecutor case, it does not happen in days, it does not happen in weeks, it does take months, and we do ask the residents to be patient with us. We do have to adhere to specific laws and regulations, and we do have to exercise due process. But if the residents know that the division and the city will do anything to, one, address their concerns, but we want to do it in obviously a legal fashion, the aftermath can definitely be significant. I think a lot of people that drive by and see it, they probably may not think something of it, but when you get to see all that debris being removed, it just truly makes a big difference. And it makes our shopping centers just a safer, nicer place to engage. And with that, I will be letting you know that, code enforcement is definitely not a basic task. It is the city's policy to encourage voluntary compliance, which is why we are committed to working with the community about the process and corrective action in order to achieve voluntary compliance. We will continue to work with outside agencies as well as take advantage of ongoing KCO training. And hopefully with the cooperation of our residents and business operators, this endeavor results in a respectful and satisfactory relationship between the between the city and the community. This concludes my report. I'll be happy to answer any questions you may have.
Thank you, Maggie. Any questions from colleagues? Nope. I just have a comment. If you could actually, John, I think it would be good if we're able to provide, because it's a public safety, for further information about code enforcement, look on the website. Maybe do something on social media that kind of just says, hey, this is what the process is.
Sure.
Look it up, and that kind of just guides them.
The process of code enforcement.
Yes,
Got
or,
it.
look on the website for what our process is of code enforcement.
Mm-hmm. Okay, you got it.
All right, thank you, Maggie.
Thank you.
All right, with that, we will move on to our environmental sustainability part of the agenda, which we have an oral report for the Los Angeles County Sanitation District's presentation on food waste recycling program.
Yes, Madam Mayor, as you mentioned, this last presentation is on food waste recycling programs, which is also called organics waste recycling. We've presented to you a few times in the past about this topic. This latest report that you're about to hear focuses on the efforts by the LA County Sanitation District to increase the amount of organic waste recycling. Our guest presenter is joining us via Zoom today, and it's Maria Rosales Ramirez from the district's Public Information Office. And also with us in the audience are members from CalMet. Mr. Bill Kalbakoff is in the back as well. So with that, I'll turn it over to Ms. Rosales Ramirez, and it looks like she's muted, so be sure to unmute yourself. There you go. Welcome.
Yes, thank you so much for the opportunity. My name is Maria Rosales Ramirez, and I work in the Public Information Office for the Sanitation District of LA County. Today I'm here to show you a virtual tour of our food waste recycling program, and I just thank you again for this opportunity. As you mentioned, Will Chen, he's a supervising engineer in the food waste recycling program. He's here with me, and he's here to answer all the hard questions. Thank you, Will. So I'll start sharing my screen. So some of you may not have heard of the sanitation districts. We actually serve half of LA County, 78 cities and unincorporated areas of LA County. City of Paramount is one of our member cities. We're mostly known for our wastewater services. We've been around since 1923, at first providing sewage management and treatment, and now have evolved to water recycling. We also have our other half, our solid waste half. We also have a network of landfills and recycling centers, so we've been doing that since the 50s. And over time, our solid waste or trash disposal has evolved to materials recycling, And in between both groups, we have energy recovery, which we've also been producing green energy since the 1980s. So because we have water recycling and green energy and material recycling programs in place, we're uniquely positioned to offer a food waste recycling program, which is what we're going to see right now. To set the scene, LA County generates about 21 million tons of waste a year, of which 9 million tons is actually buried in landfills. Here we have a picture of our Shoal Canyon landfill, which is, if you're familiar with the Eagle Rock area by Figueroa, Colorado, we see here is one of our trash is being buried at our landfill. 1/3 of that landfill waste is organic, and organic waste has different components. The one that we're going to talk about right now is food waste. 4,000 tons of food waste is thrown out in LA County each day, and what we see here is food waste that we've accepted at our materials recovery facility in Whittier, our MRF. As you can see, this is actually quite beautiful food waste. We see a lot of whole foods, lots of produce and stuff, but it doesn't always look like this. So what are we talking about? And why is this food waste important? Food waste that is disposed of in a landfill can release methane to the environment, and the methane is actually a much more potent greenhouse gas. So by controlling the amount of food waste that goes into the landfill, we can control or prevent less methane emissions into the environment. So with that, the state has required organics to be diverted, to not be put into landfills, and there's some regulations there. We have AB 1826, which requires commercial organics recycling, and it requires composting or anaerobic digestion, which are the alternatives to landfills. And we also have recent legislation, which is SB 1383, which requires 50% reduction of landfill organic waste by 2020 and a 75% reduction in landfill organic waste by 2025. What I'm here to share with you is the sanitation district is not here to enforce SB 1383, even though it is coming into effect in 2022, so we've got a couple more months to go. But we're here to share how our food waste program can help cities such as Paramount or your businesses meet this requirement. And the way we can do that is by we pretty much use all our resources that we have from our wastewater side, from our solid waste side, from our energy recovery side, and pull them all together to have something. So on the left, we have our Puente Hills Materials Recovery Facility. This is pretty much a large-scale recycling center that's been operating since 2005. It's right up the 605 freeway. Here we recycle cardboard, glass, metal, plastics, and now food waste. And what we do is we get food waste coming into our facility. Then we take it over to our facility on the right side of the screen, which is our Joint Water Pollution Control Plant. So now we're crossing over to our wastewater side. This is our largest wastewater treatment facility. It can process up to 400 million gallons of sewage a day. And it's located right down the 110 freeway and the Sepulveda exit. This right here is Figueroa. The important part from here is I want you to look at these round tanks. These are our anaerobic digesters. So again, this is infrastructure that we already have in place, that we are literally just have to make a few tweaks to kind of make a food waste program come together, and that's exactly what we did. So our program has several steps. First step is to accept unprocessed food waste and pre-process that. I'm going to show you a cool video to show you how we can do that. Once the food waste is pre-processed at our facility in Whittier, we then take it over to our anaerobic digesters in Carson, and from there we can actually get some benefits from that. We produce biogas, which can be used to produce electricity, vehicle fuel, biomethane, heat, and steam, and even the leftovers from the anaerobic digester, post-treatment can actually produce fertilizer or compost. So that's why I believe that we convert waste into resources. So let me show you how we do that. The first step is to get source-separated food waste brought to the MRF. And by source-separated, I mean this is food waste that's collected outside of the regular trash haul route. These are probably haulers that are collecting food waste from specific bins in areas of the cities that have high-dense restaurants or markets. And I know it looks super beautiful. We have some tomatoes, some mint, some lemongrass, but it doesn't always look that way. You can see here on the right, sometimes it's mush. These are things that have been in the bin for quite some time. It's brought to us and is literally put into our floor. You gotta wait, you gotta pay per ton once it goes through our scale. But once it does that, it gets put on our floor. And this is where the magic happens. This is our DOTA, or we call it bioseparator, two-stage bioseparator system. And what we do here is pretty much a really large smoothie. We take that food waste that gets placed here, we put it into this hopper that then separates the organic from the inorganic content and creates a slurry that is then being able to be put in a tanker truck and then sent to our facility in Carson. This system currently accepts up to 30 tons a day of food waste. That's what we're accepting now, but it can go up to 165 if the contracts come in. So this is where you thank me that it's a virtual tour. Here what we have is footage from our first load of food waste that came into our system, and you see a lot of people are excited taking pictures and looking at it. If you notice that there's a lot of bags. And that's because it comes from bins. Maybe restaurants put their food waste into bags, and that bag goes into a bin, that bin goes into a truck, and then the truck comes here. So we have to first remove any contaminants, removing plastic bags, maybe forks or styrofoam. So this gentleman right now is going to turn on the machine. And we see these augers right here. These are actually feeding the food waste towards our bioseparator stage 1 and stage 2. Notice right here on the upper left corner how it's removing the bags. This bioseparator, think of it as a giant garlic press. You put the garlic press, the garlic moves through and the skin stays behind. This would be the equivalent of the garlic press. The reason it goes through two stages, the primary and secondary, is because one is the larger diameter, so the larger stuff gets pulled away, and then the smaller size. So this would be the smaller bags and stuff that gets held behind. But this is what you want. This is the food slurry, the smoothie. This is the gold right here, very odorous, but it has a lot of energy potential. So that slurry that you see right there gets fed into these tanks right here, and we have a water tank right here to allow us to come up with the right consistency. We're probably aiming about 13 to 50% solid. And this is done this way so that it can be compatible with our anaerobic digestion system, which is going to be in our facility in Carson. So we get the slurry and we pump it into a tanker truck. I'm going to pause the video really fast right here just to point out that our driver actually has a little container right here. Any slurry that gets taken to our facilities actually has to be tested to make sure it meets the right chemical and physical pH requirements, and that's because we really got to protect the anaerobic digesters. Again, we're using the infrastructure that we have, and we got to make sure that it's compatible. We're not just putting anything in there that might upset the existing system. That still has to operate. So, the tanker truck gets full of slurry. It comes down to our facility in Carson down the freeway, and this is our food waste receiving station. So the food waste gets pumped back into these storage tanks. Now, I mentioned how we accept unprocessed food waste. This is what we would consider processed food waste. So if you happen to already have slurried food waste, we could accept that food waste slurry already at our joint water pollution control plant, and then it goes into our anaerobic digester. So that's what's happening here. So these are the digesters, and we already have them. They're a conventional part of our wastewater treatment system. We consider them really like cow stomachs. It's a sealed tank, everything's contained, and in the absence of oxygen, in about 15 to 16 days, we stabilize the contents and we produce biogas, which is then collected with these tubing right here, the piping. The real stars of the show are the bacteria, the microorganisms. They feed on the solid, and then through the decomposition process, they produce a biogas which has methane, and that has a heating content. So we're able to recover that gas and do something with it. This is just to give you a perspective of how deep the digesters are. We actually have 24. but this board right here is about 6 feet. So these are huge. What you see above ground, there's also, more depth to it. So they can hold a lot of volume. And the biogas I mentioned is collected and it's sent to our power plant at the joint plant, which is also in Carson. It's actually all within the same facility. This power plant has been in operation since 1983, and we've actually been producing energy since then. So much so that the Joint Water Pollution Control Plant is actually, it uses all the energy that it needs to run. And also we are able to actually put some back to the grid. So there are some homes out there in Carson that are using green energy from the sewage, and even more with now sewage and food waste. So again, these are all existing infrastructures. By us just collecting the food waste and pre-processing it, we already go into an existing system that we already have. Now, let me pause it right here. The total energy facility in Carson, I've mentioned, has been operating since 1983. We probably are maxed out in terms of what we can do with the biogas that we collect. So what's the next step? What can we use that biogas for? The surplus gas is used for vehicle fuel. So what I'm showing you right now, this is one of the digesters, the round digesters, but I want you to pay attention to the asphalt, the new asphalt you can see here in dark right here. That's because we made a pipe that will collect all the biogas, and it takes it, it's crossing Figueroa Street, going through Figueroa, but it's still part of the Joint Water Pollution Control Plant, the operation area. So it's still our property, so it just travels a couple hundred feet, and it turns right into this small looking place right here, which is actually our biogas conditioning system, which is right next to our CNG station, fuel station. So our biogas is refined here. We pretty much purify the biogas to make it renewable natural gas that can then be used for fueling. And if we need to store it, it can be stored here. But our fueling station, it's been there for a long time. It's actually was using CNG, now you can use RNG, and it's open to the public. There's some customers that are cities that power their fleet here, but it's also open to the customer. And what I like here is that in a perfect world, you kind of come full circle. You power the gas, the trucks that collect the trash using the energy that the trash makes. So I think that could be something really inspiring. It's really cool. So where are we in our system? We are right now processing around 300 tons a day of slurry. That would be at our Carson facility, and you can see since we started our pilot program in 2014 how it's kept them going up and up. We do have a little bit of a COVID dip right here, but in general, where we want to go is, these are some of the haulers that we have worked with. We are working with. We've worked with several others in the past. But where we want to be at 600 tons a day of food waste slurry. So we are about 50% capacity. Just keep in mind that, there's 4,000 tons of food waste out there. So this is very much limited capacity that we have. But once we're maxed out, we can produce up to almost 6,000 gallons of gasoline per day equivalent. So that's really awesome. What would we do with these 600 tons a day of food waste slurry or the gas that's produced from that? Well, right now we are focusing on vehicle fuel, but there's also the potential to have electricity for like more charge stations, or also injection into a natural gas pipeline. And with that, I have put some contact information. Will is here to answer any questions that you have, and if you're interested for any tour for any groups that you have, you can email us at info@lacsd.org. So with that, I'm here to answer any questions if you have any for me.
Thank you, Maria. Thank you. It was a really good presentation. I felt like I was in science class a little bit. But
Yes, that's where we're going.
I like your smoothie. So is there any questions from colleagues for Maria?
I just have a comment.
Sure.
Maria, I seen you at one of my committee meetings several months ago. You did a presentation. So thank you. Thank you for coming to our city. Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Maria, I just have one quick question too. How many gas stations are there for the vehicle fuel?
In Carson, we only have one,
Just
but
one?
there is a separate one in Whittier that we have as well. Will, do you want to elaborate on that further?
Yeah, we currently own 2 fueling
Okay.
stations. They're operated by Clean Energy. But the one that is currently residing in Carson that's using our RNG currently only has 2 fueling islands with 4 nozzles. So it really can only fuel like 4 medium-sized vehicles simultaneously. But we do have plans to expand that station so it can accommodate Class 8 trailer trucks too.
So
the
just
next
in
couple of
Carson. Okay. Great. Thank you. Any other questions from colleagues? If not,
Madam Mayor, just I don't know, Bill, if you wanted to add to any of that what was presented, or if you're all good, just come up if you wanted to add something. I don't know.
There you go. Madam Mayor,
oh,
Council. They put a good presentation. We currently take to Pointy Hills MRF about 50 ton a month, but most of it's coming from LA because it's from like the produce markets. It's your clean stuff that you saw that was dumped, which makes a lot of sense because what they do over there, you said it's a juicer. Basically, they're taking the liquid out of the material and creates the slurry, take it to the Carson plant, and what it does, it accelerates the breakdown of the methane, or the methane gas and the sludge, and it kind of accelerates and it makes the methane gas quicker, I think, by adding the slurry because of the high protein value of the viotol. But, this type of process does not, like, we're looking at doing residential waste and it's organics. We're planning on mixing it with our green waste, which I think is going to be the best. You put the food scraps in there and basically it would be used for compost for the most part. That's kind of our plan. There's a lot of different processes out there that are being offered, anaerobic digesters, the DOTI, Anagera, there's the compost. Everyone kind of seems like they have a different mousetrap. But what we're looking for is doing something the most economic way. And that's kind of what I'm going to be presenting to Adriana in probably the next month or so. We're going to be doing some outreach. We've mailed out 2019 about 500 letters regarding 1826. Because when we started this thing, we had 939, 341, 1826, now there's 1383. All these different bills all have different requirements for the organics, recyclables, green waste, and what have you not. But I think we're there. We're doing Downey right now with the letters and the audits. We've added, I think, probably 75 customers to organic processors right now. Currently in the city of Paramount, I think there's just about 20 that have signed up for the organics, and mainly the restaurants. But it's kind of hard because people don't want to pay the extra cost, but it's coming down to the law, and I think you're going to be doing an ordinance that's going to be enforceable so that if they don't subscribe, then there'll be fines. But it's the process of going through everything, doing the audits. All our supervisors and our zero waste team, they all have these apps that have with the iPads, and they have apps on there where we can actually do audits on site, and it goes right into our system, and it's labeled. There's photographs in there, so if a customer calls, what have you, we have all that information with our customer service reps on real time. So it's going to be challenging. It's going to be exciting, but we're here for the long haul, and we're going to make it work. And it's partners with the LA County Sand and compost facilities. Because they're passing the law, but there's not enough facilities out there that can process the food waste right now. So, that's taking time. They're going through the permit process, but I think within the next year or so, we'll pretty much have everything under control.
thank you, Bill. We appreciate you coming out.
Okay.
Have a good night. All right, we are all done with presentations at this time.
Yes, ma'am.
All right, so we will
Thank you,
move.
Maria.
Thank you, Maria.
All right, so we'll move on to our comments and committee reports. We'll start off with council members, and I'll start off with Councilmember Lemons.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I don't have anything to report.
All right, that was quick. And how about you, Councilmember Guillen?
I'd like to report that on Saturday, June 19th, 2021, at approximately 10 a.m. in the city of Irvine, our own Paramount FC boys soccer team, known as the 2017, were crowned state champions by a minimum score of 1-0, beating a very tough opponent from Imperial Valley, FC Boys 2007. And I wanted you to know that the 2007 signifies the year these boys were born, so they are in about 8th grade. A young man from the city of Paramount, Andres Alvarez, scored the defining goal from a free kick, and he attends Our Lady of the Rosary School. And this team represented the city of Paramount with courage and professionalism. And I just wanted to acknowledge them because I really believe that they haven't been given the recognition that they deserve. And so I just want to thank the Football Club 2007 for representing Paramount well, and congrats on your state championship.
Thank you. Councilmember Aguayo.
Okay, I don't have much, actually, really just have one thing. Tuesday, July 27th, Coffee with the Mayor at Spanny Park, Mayor Olmos, and I get to be there. So it's kind of informal, just, conversation. So, if you're in the area of Spanny Park, come and say hi to us.
Agree.
That's it.
Vice Mayor, you're up.
Okay, I need to take off my mask for a few minutes. It's been a great 2 weeks. I was able to attend the concerts with Mayor Olmos, and we listened to the Rolling Stones, and then last week, Banda de las Angelinas, and it was a wonderful crowd. We really had a big crowd on the both events, and also Councilmember Gillen was also attentive. I wanted to also encourage our residents to use the open gym to, it's open for basketball, volleyball, and pickleball, David? So I had to look up pickleball. So anyway, that was very interesting. So, and last, I was given the opportunity, actually yesterday morning, my brother, Bobby Cuera, made arrangements and gave it, invited myself and school board member, Diane Martinez, to go see the facility at the Long Beach Convention Center for the intake of the children that are arriving across the border. I'm getting really emotional. The children range from age 6 to 17 years old. The facilitator, Mr. Schuyler, gave us an excellent tour. To be able to, they still have a few children left. They actually had almost 1,500 children at the facility, and the majority of them are already with family, friends, with sponsors. There's still a few children left. I want to thank our residents, everyone that donated those books, children's books to them. The children really love the books. As children are leaving the facility, they are allowed to take a few books with them, and the majority of all the books are gone. So thank you for helping and participating in this. And last, I really would like to thank my brother for making it possible, and also Mrs. Schuyler. I want to thank everyone that works in that facility, from the social workers, security guards, cafeteria workers, nurses, doctors, x-ray technicians, teachers, volunteers, and many others that volunteer and help out. At the end of the tour, I'm not going to cry, it was very emotional. The children, a group of them, they're set up in pods, and a group of them walk by me and school board member Diane Martinez, and we were actually not allowed to interact with them, but they said hello to us, and and they said hello to us in Spanish, and we responded, and they're very well taken care of, and I am so ever grateful to be able to experience this, and those children, I consider our children, are being very well taken care of, and thank you to everyone that is involved in this program in the intake of the children. And last, I would like to thank everybody, wish everybody in July that had birthdays, and myself and Mayor Olmos. And today I have 2 grandchildren that have their birthdays, Elijah and Alyssa. So they're spending time together as a family. And everyone else that had a July birthday, happy birthday to you, and may God bless you. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. A couple things I just wanted to mention. For the residents that have been asking of where they can get a vaccine, talk to staff. We're going to get that out on social media so that way you guys know where you can get your vaccine. And thank you for reaching out. We know that's important that everybody gets vaccinated. Second thing, John, I'm not sure how we can address this, but I'm looking to see for the check that was given to us today by the speaker. I'm sure there's a process about the budget, how we can spend the money, where the money's going to go. So can you advise us a little bit if maybe will there be like an oral presentation done on an agenda, or maybe you can give us a quick summary of what the next steps are?
Absolutely, Madam Mayor. As Speaker Rendon mentioned, we can't take that big check and cash it tomorrow at the bank. So there's a process working with the state. We've been through this before. It's not a short process. It gets assigned to a state agency, most likely the Resources Agency is who we dealt with the last time around. They then reach out to all the cities that receive funding through the budget process, and we're told what the guidelines are. They have specific guidelines that we have to follow. Right now, it's just a very generic thing we can use for parks and public facilities. Well, that's very, as I said, very general. There are more specific guidelines that you can and can't use the money on. So once we get those guidelines, then we'll be able to better tell what we can spend the money on. Our plan at this point is to develop a priority list that we've heard over the years, the council's priorities, the community's priorities, when it comes to parks and our facilities. So our hope is that once the guidelines are out and we sign a contract with the state, because that's the other process that we have to go through, we hope to present like an oral report, maybe something to you around the mid-year budget time.
Okay, so around mid-year budget. Okay,
Yep.
perfect. Thank you for that. I just wanted to make sure I understood the process. and
Absolutely.
Across the board. Okay, so last thing, I wanted to wish Karina, I think, Karina, this is your last meeting with us, and probably, John, that was going to be in your comments. But I just wanted to say, on behalf of myself, and I'm sure my colleagues, thank you so much for all that you have done for the city. You're going to be greatly, greatly missed. And she said that we could still call her on her cell phone, though. You did say that. So anyways, thank you. Thank you for all you've done for us. Lastly, I do want to discuss with my colleagues, I do want to call a special meeting. I want to add a special meeting actually, and I want to possibly get some dates out to you guys to propose. I know that our city attorney does have a report to provide us on a request of an investigation that we had requested. So colleagues, I'm not sure if you guys have your calendars in front of you, if we could possibly get some dates out to you. And if you could look at your calendars and let me know. We're looking at July 26th, which is Monday at 5 o'clock, or July 27th at 3. So if we're able to pin down a date today, I would be grateful. That way we can get the attorney scheduled as well.
Could you repeat July?
So I said July 26th, which is the Monday at 5 p.m., or July 27th, which will be at 3 o'clock.
I'm available either.
So we have Lemons that's open for both. I'm open for both. I'll make those work. And Vilma, how about you?
I'm open for both.
Ian?
27th looks good to me.
27th look good? Guayo?
Either day is fine.
Okay, so we'll do the 27th. That
What's
way,
the time on the 27th?
3 o'clock?
Huh?
3 p.m.
Okay.
So July 27th, 3 o'clock will be the special meeting. Any other questions from staff on that, or we're good to go, John?
No, ma'am. We've got our marching orders. The clerk will do the normal posting, and she will get with the city attorney, I believe, on a title for the agenda item that you're discussing.
If I may ask the city attorney, can we adjourn to that today? So it'll be an adjourned meeting. So you'll adjourn to that tonight, Madam Mayor, rather than the date that's on the agenda.
We'll do.
And then it won't require special noticing.
Perfect. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. So, John, do we have a staff report?
Yes, we do. Comments from staff. As the mayor said, vaccines are available to the community. We want to encourage that for everybody to go out and get vaccinated. We did do a social media post this afternoon. The locations are Rite Aid on Downey and Alondra. There are 2 medical clinics in town that are offering, as well as another pharmacy that will be offering it. Just another reminder, concerts in the park are happening every Thursday, with the exception of the first Thursday of the month. That's actually, the concerts moved to Friday, and that's right out here out in front of City Hall. And it's combined with our Friday night market. So just a reminder for those. So those are always fun. And as you mentioned, our longtime finance director, this is her last meeting. So we're very sad to see Karina go, but happy for her in her new adventure in life. So with that, that concludes my comments from staff.
Well, thank you. So at this time, we are not going into closed session. That is correct. So we will go ahead, and thank you, everybody, for coming out tonight. Thank you for your comments. We appreciate you taking the time and spending your Tuesday evening with us and to the community. Again, thank you for tuning in. So I will go ahead and adjourn this meeting till July 27th at 3 p.m.